Yo, what's up, everyone? I appreciate y'all for being here. Do me a favor, share this out. This is going to be an awesome stream. I got a partial team here today, but we got something special. We're gonna do a deep dive into Sonic. I apparently can't keep my ass straight here. Where am I going here? We're gonna do a deep dive on Sonic, and this is gonna be really exciting because I've been looking at this ecosystem a lot over the last couple months. I see a lot of opportunities. I've been having a lot of fun. And I think everybody would be really happy to get a little bit of a taste on what's going on in Sonic. So let me bring the team up. Fresh from vacation, Mr. Lead Singer,
Hi.
Zenithan. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, the beach was good.
How's your vacation?
Oh man, it was fantastic. I highly suggest any of the Gulf Coast islands. Well, I don't know. I only know the one where I went, so I don't know about the others. Maybe they're all really weird, but the one I went to was awesome. Lots of seashells.
So good. Seashells by the seashore,
and not a lot of water.
It's good stuff. Not my chair, not my problem.
Okay.
Never mind.
What's that? There were manatees. There were manatees and dolphins.
That's good. Okay. Good times. Now, did you actually do that, or were you on your phone the whole time doing crypto like everybody else?
A little bit. I got in trouble a little bit.
All right, bet. All right, we got our Alpha King in the house, Mr. Chaos Chris, who, believe it or not, may have been dabbling in Sonic himself. We'll see. We'll have to confirm. How are you, sir?
I am doing good, man. I'm excited to talk about Sonic. This is one of my favorite ecosystems. I've been checking it out, dabbling around, and excited to learn more about it. And hopefully we can do some more fucking DJing, because that's what we are. We're trench warriors.
All right, he's backstage and he's right now like, what fucking stream am I getting on right now? All right, I got a special guest for you guys. This guy is a Sonic homer. He's been in the ecosystem since before it was Sonic, a crypto OG, and the newly appointed head of ecosystem for Sonic, Mr. Dracula Presley. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Thank you very much for being here.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, we kind of crossed paths a couple times, and like one time you were kind of asking me about streamers and stuff, because you were like, yeah, you have like your thing, GM Sonic. Is there a lot of streamers? And I said, man, there's plenty of room. So come on over, talk about Sonic, do some streams. We'll help get it out there. We were talking before the show. It was like how you guys like talk a lot about like Pulse Chain, like the Pulse Eco, and or you're involved in it too, of course. But it's just like interesting how I do meet so many people that are from like the Pulse community, like all the time. So I guess there's some kind of maybe because they're like smaller, tight knit communities, but I've noticed there's definitely like some overlap there. When people come over, and I think they kind of like feel at home coming from like another smaller community, and then they're still playing on Pulse too. And so, I mean, it's cool. It's almost reminiscent of last run, the Alt L1 rotation, where it was like, there was like Phantom and AVAX and a couple others where it was like people were just constantly, every week there'd be projects going on somewhere, and everyone would just kind of rotate around all the Alt L1s. So I think it's almost feeling like L1 season, almost.
Yeah, it's definitely getting reminiscent of the times that passed. But I don't know about you, but I think it's going to get a whole lot more bonkers than before.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of argument online right now in terms of like, some people think we're already topping in like a bull run cycle kind of deal. I'm kind of in the camp of there's still a lot of macro things that are about to happen. We haven't even had rate cuts. We got some wars going on. In US politics, they're probably going to remove the head of the Fed and put a guy that, they like have a yes man in there to slash all the rates. So it's like I feel like I feel like we're just getting started, really.
Gentlemen, what about you? I know we've gone through it before, but what do you guys think? We got a lot more.
So I agree with Dracula about this. Everyone keeps saying we're topping. I saw a couple accounts called the top, but the big thing is the interest rates. And I'm not going to turn this into an economics class, but long story short, interest rates go down, more money goes in the economy. The reason why the M2 money supply is going up is it's not necessarily the US printing dollars out thin air, it's other countries printing out thin air. So when the US starts printing money, it's going to be absolutely crazy. So we can't necessarily have a full-fledged blow off top altcoin season until we get that interest rate pivot. So I do agree with you, sir.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. In fact, I practically said that verbatim in a conversation this morning, where I was just like, we still have all these things to happen. I don't think Bitcoin is done this cycle yet. Ethereum's definitely not done yet. I think, yeah, exactly what you're saying. I think that, I don't know how much longer it will be. I think probably at least through next year, but yeah, I think that we still haven't had that like typical one last new all-time high, and then everything finally starts to chill out and retrace. So yeah, I mean, I think we got a while to go, so that makes me hopeful.
Awesome. So forgive me, I'm going to backtrack here. Can you kind of give us your story, your origin story? How did you come into? I don't know. I mean, you can go back as far as you want. How many cycles is this for you? I guess.
Well, I was born in the early '80s, and yeah, like I started in I would say about 20. It was end of 2015, 2016, somewhere around there, where I got kind of like drawn into just like the whole ethos of crypto, and I like had no experience in financial things, or like I didn't trade stocks. I didn't I was just kind of drawn to crypto once I learned about it, especially like just like the background of Bitcoin and like everything else. And so I just kind of got in the trenches. I started trading what was available. Back then there wasn't like 10,000 tokens. There was like 100. So in some ways trading was easier back then. So like, yeah, I just kind of got ingrained that way. I mean, it was so bizarre because I didn't have any like friends in it. I didn't have any family in it. So it was very just like, learning on my own and, making a lot of mistakes, but, starting to make friends from, certain communities and stuff. And it was right around like COVID where, I was home a lot. There was a lot of time on my hands. I'd been trading for years by then. And DeFi was really kind of like that first wave of like BSC had just launched not too long before all this. Like DeFi was just like in full swing with like, everything being like a food themed Ponzi. And like I just literally, I don't even know what really came over me because I didn't have a lot of experience in coding or anything. I was just kind of like, hey, I've made a little bit of money trading, and I think I want to like get more skin in the game and get into this. So same exact thing. I just kind of started reaching out to people with like the few connections I had. Found a dev, started working on it. Was basically just another pancake swap fork. It was going okay. It was like, considering that I had like no experience, it was fine. I think the market at the time being just absolutely insane helped. I think anything was catching a bid, but yeah, I was on BSC, but it was just it was like very desolate. It was like, what I'm going to get to is like when I moved the Phantom, because BSC was very like, just like, you'd ask somebody for something and it'd be like, like, what do you want? Like, do you want my money? Are you trying to like, you'd be like, hey, like, let's collab on something, or, and people just be like, no, like, I don't think so. Get the hell out of here. So I started like learning, by I guess, summer, I guess fast forward to, I guess this was summer 2021, if I remember correctly. there were other things popping up, getting popular, like other like L1s and stuff. And I had started hearing about Phantom, just like, it wasn't like a lot of noise, but just a little bit of noise about Phantom. And the more I looked into it, the more I was interested in it. And so, I started just, buying Phantom, and there was only like a handful of eco projects at the time. And I just kind of like decided, you know what, I'm going to make the leap and just, take my project, the Phantom. So I did, and it was just crazy. It was just completely different than being on BSC. It was like people were just so like happy for you to be there. And, projects like, I mean, we launched there, and it was like, first days, projects are reaching out like, hey, like, hit me up if you ever need anything. Like, let's collaborate on something. Let's do some kind of cross promo. And yeah, I mean, the community was just so different. And so yeah, it sucked me in. And there were other things too. I mean, just like the technical benefits, of course, like at that time, there was nothing as fast as Phantom. Just like on a technical, standpoint, it was great to build there. And there was a ton of volume, a ton of action. Like I was saying earlier about the alt L1 rotation, there was just always something going on. Everybody was having fun. And yeah, so that was kind of my home. I mean, I did things on other chains. I still have like a lot of friends that are more active on different chains. Like I still like developed some things and, was still around, but Phantom was always home. And, as quick as it was all good times, it, turned into bad times for everybody in the market. Nobody could celebrate too long because, we had that blow off top where most of us probably should have seen the signs, but, everybody thought it was just going to be super cycle forever. So, yeah, we fast forward to crypto winter, and same thing, though, it was just everybody was hurting, all the ecos, all the chains. And it was kind of like, stuck around Phantom, still just had friends from last run, made new friends, just kind of kept building things here and there. And, obviously there were like the hard times because, we were already entering a bear market. Then there was the famous multi-chain incident, which, pretty much obliterated most of like the people that were left by then. So then it was definitely like, oh, it was kind of funny when I think back on it, because you might recognize this from Pulse, where it's like, when the markets are doing better, there's almost like cliques and groups and people kind of, oh, I don't like that guy because of that, and they support this project, so I don't like that. Well, the funny thing that happened was by the time multi-chain was over, everyone just had to huddle up. So like, it was like, if you were still there and you were left, it was like, okay, well, there's only so many of us. So now we all got to kind of like, get along and, work together. And so, yeah, it was a very slow rebuild. Like I said, I view it as like a desolate, cold, like I just equate it with like, some kind of like winter blizzard or something. Everyone's just trying to survive. And luckily, I think it was the right choice. Originally, Sonic was actually just going to be a Phantom upgrade. And it's still, even at that, it gave people something to look forward to. Like, hey, at least, we're trying to move forward, the chain's moving forward. But I think it was the right call that, they decided, it's time to, kind of, I don't want to say like a mulligan, but it was just kind of like, hey, it's new tech, new chain. I think that it was the right move in terms of like a rebrand was probably a good idea, just to like start over fresh. So yeah, that's the shortest way I can tell the long story, that, we're here now. So basically I was always just kind of adjacent to the foundation, like things I did, whether it was, we knew each other from just things that I was building or putting out. But then once things geared up for Sonic, me and a buddy Corville, we started kind of working on the GM Sonic show. And so we were working more like adjacent, in terms of like, trying to get news out there and get people hyped for Sonic and all that stuff. So yeah, I kind of had like good relationships with these people already, just from, knowing most of them for a long time already. So, finally the call came that, they wanted to see if I wanted to come on the team. And I was totally not expecting it at all. Just because, like I said, we've worked together for a long time, but things have just kind of been, a certain way. It's more like I'm a guy that does stuff and they're the foundation, and, we're not mix, crisscross too much. But yeah, they I guess, now it's been 2-3 weeks since I took the role, but excited about it. Everybody's working hard, just trying to work at improving overall sentiment and communication with like the community, but also protocols. And yeah, I think it's going pretty well so far.
Hey, Dracula, quick question. What's the name of the project you say you launched a fork of pancake swap? What was the name of the project?
So it was yeah, no, get this. It stayed in theme. So everything had food names. So it was called Potluck Protocol.
That's cool, man. That's
and and it started as it's so bad. Like, like when you look back on something and you're like, that was so like, ugh. Like all the branding was like basically like a Thanksgiving table or something, like food. And, but then it kind of morphed into, this is kind of funny. This is kind of where like Phantom also came into play, because all the imagery kind of turned into more like bats and spooky stuff. And, that's the kind of stuff I'm really into. So Phantom, at the time, they called it the spooky chain, the ghost chain, because since the name was Phantom, on Phantom, all the stuff was branded as, ghost this, mummy this, goblin, whatever. So it like also just felt like it felt natural to kind of be like, all right, well, I don't really fit in on BSC, this, it's kind of like the stars aligned on like everything,
That's
but
awesome. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah. So typical to any other pancake swap or goose or whatever fork, high emission farming does not go over well in the bear market. So it was kind of I'm proud to say there was never any major incidents. There was never any rug. The team didn't dump, whatever. It was just like, but it was just kind of like a slow death, when it entered the bear market. So, but I worked on a lot of other things though, like projects all over. Sometimes I would just build things for people that weren't even mine. I did a lot of stuff in NFTs. So, just kind of like all over the place. And also during this time, I was able to like do a lot more on my own, because I kind of like had started to finally learn how to code and stuff. So that kind of transitioned to the bear market, where I was like, oh, I can be a little more like experimental, like I can try to build this or try to build that. And I learned a lot. I think people at that time actually kind of like knew me more as like a dev. But I still have like things I was kind of kicking around for Sonic, didn't finish, but maybe eventually they'll see the light of day.
What is an NFT?
Sorry, I'm good. It's fucking got it.
Dude, kick him off the stream. I'm just kidding.
No, don't make me go away.
I was gonna be like, actually, like, can we not talk about NFTs? That would be great.
Yeah.
Totally fine. Let's fucking do it. Did they reach out to you about being the head of the ecosystem before they talked about it publicly?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say it took us probably about 10 days or so to kind of like iron everything out. But yeah, they had come to me just because being someone that had literally just sticking around, people would know who you were on the network at that point. By the time it became Sonic from Phantom, and I just know a lot of the people that have like are building or have built on the chain. know a lot of community members, and there had been like other situations where sometimes I would be like the voice of reason, whether that was for the foundation or for the community. So yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, it's all come together pretty naturally, but yeah, I mean, they reached out and we figured it out. And cause that was kind of part of my thing too, was just like being like in the background, building stuff, you kind of have to put those things on hold to an extent, when you're working for a foundation, I can't be like launching projects like, hey guys, check out this project, wink wink, you know what I mean? So you got to mind the conflict of interest kind of stuff. So I had to think about it a lot, but I just thought, if I can be effective, then I should probably do it.
Cool. Hey Mo, can I ask one question? So about the dexes, since you got experience in this, Shadow, SwapX, shout out to SwapX. I love SwapX and the Shadow Exchange. The new VE33 model that was proposed by Andre Cron. How do you say his last name? I don't want to. Cronje,
yeah. Cronje.
Yeah, South African. But based off of that model and the inflation mechanics, do you think that this model might not get adoption on Sonic because of the recent price performance of these two tokens?
Well, I think a lot of it also comes back to, if you looked at the beginning of the year, like February, when everything was kind of ripping and red hot, I think a lot of it comes back to emission tokens get it like double hard, when the market's just not, like obviously we're watching Bitcoin make new all-time highs. Ethereum's about to hit a new all-time high, but we've still been waiting for alt season, So in February, we watched Shadow have an epic run up. SwapX was performing really well. Metropolis had a big run up. Equalizer, I mean, all of them were, running up. So I think that sometimes there's like a disconnect between what emissions are for, right? Like, if the APR is, good enough for you to put your liquidity there, you're being rewarded for that liquidity, but that doesn't necessarily always transfer into like, oh, I should hold this token for like 2 years, right? But SwapX, like if you're looking at like V3 specifically, SwapX and Shadow both have really good like lock mechanisms. And I think what you'll see on both eventually is you will finally enter that territory where there's like supply shock and that kind of stuff. But it takes time. I mean, you have to get through a lot of your emissions, it's rarely a fast game that somebody's like, oh, we've emitted all our tokens in like 1 year, usually it's like, oh, it takes 3, 4, 5, whatever years for all the tokens. And then that's when you can really start seeing people, putting it away for voting. But yeah, I mean, I think these things come and go with just like higher TVL, higher volume, people just being bullish on the market in general. So I think that all the dexes will probably run in the right circumstances on Sonic. I think that if it's somebody like taking a look on the outside of the eco, I think a lot of things are undervalued. I think S is undervalued, of course. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's like a decent time to accumulate if you're interested in the eco.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that just verified my theory. And I like to do a lot of research on the overall tokenomics output, because this new model is very interesting. So sorry, but I didn't mean to take over, man. That was
no. That's a good question. I mean, obviously, Sonic having phantom roots, it seems like most of the dexes have like some kind of V3 twist on it at least. So yeah, I mean, I can tell you, like, for instance, for sure on like SwapX and Shadow, tokenomics were like for both projects, like very like carefully thought out, the mechanisms, the numbers. They both had advisors and all kinds of stuff. So that's kind of the way I view that, though, is that across the board, DEX tokens, I think it's a lesson we learned from last run. Really, you couldn't know that in last run when DeFi was kind of really first blowing up, that these tokens, couldn't go up forever in a bear market, right? So yeah, I think we're just, still kind of holding our breath here, waiting. You probably saw today Andre making an announcement about Flying Tulip. We still have a lot of catalysts, and we still have some narrative and all that stuff. So I think the stars will align.
Can you briefly go over Flying Tulip and what that is and why everyone's so excited for it? I've been hearing
Sure.
people talking about it for months. And
Yeah, I mean,
that post, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, so like at the core of it, the first thing you have to look at is, Andre is like considered, his nickname is the Godfather of DeFi. He practically invented a lot of things that are like used every day on every chain. Obviously the Solidly Dex, which was his, original V3, is, responsible for, Arrow is basically based off Solidly. Some of the biggest exchanges and dexes are like at their core based on his designs. So if you weren't around last run, it was like when they started building up Solidly, it was like the craziest thing, anyone had ever seen. It was insane. So I think there's a lot of hype. It's been a few years since he's put out a new product. The funny thing about Flying Tulip is that honestly, I'm not going to say it's totally like shrouded in mystery, but it's actually like not necessarily like super technical notes on like exactly how it's going to work, what it's going to do. We do know for sure that, yes, it is like an exchange. It's a DEX. They've reworked how liquidity pools work. So supposedly liquidity pools are going to pay out really well. Also from liquidity pools, you'll be able to like do things like borrow, add leverage. So, it's going to be essentially like a brand new primitive when it's launched. But that's why there's so much excitement about it, though, is they have been kind of talking about this since before Sonic launched, like, hey, Andre's got something he's been cooking. He's the kind of guy that he's on his own time. He's not going to like rush for anybody. He's going to make sure it's how he wants it. But I think with today's announcement, it feels like, hey, we're finally moving in that direction. And that's a huge narrative coming up, a huge catalyst for Sonic.
Love it.
What are you most excited about? I guess in the interim, short term to the medium term going forward here.
Really just we kind of had a first wave of projects around when the chain launched, and I feel like a lot of projects kind of hit around the same time because obviously, you're trying to time chain launch. And then it just kind of got quiet. Like it was kind of like, okay, we had a lot of stuff deploy, a lot of stuff was happening. Then it's just been kind of quiet. Well, there's just a lot of things coming to Sonic like quarter 3 and 4. So it kind of feels like we're gearing up for like another wave of projects, and that's exciting. It's fresh everything, right? And that's not to take away from, the tried and true projects that are already on the chain, but it adds some excitement. It's more stuff to do. You get to a point where you're like, I've done everything I can do. I have the things I like to do with my yield or LP or whatever, and I'm kind of set in that. So like I said, there's like about to be another flood of projects coming.
Legit. You guys got any questions? I got one more kind of thing I want to focus on.
I got one. So one thing I like about Sonic is the fee share component. So if you create a DApp, for those of you I don't know, you get a portion of those fees. I believe it's 90%.
90%.
Now, when it comes to the overall tokenomics and the inflation model on Sonic, is there any sort of like burning behind, or is there like a cap supply for emissions going on to the future?
Yeah, so I don't think there's like a cap at the moment, but there is a burning mechanism with the TXs. And, there is like, essentially the same thing you have with any chain. Like it's like, yes, you use the token for gas, but yeah, in terms of like the future of S token, I know that behind the scenes, they're aware of this stuff, and there is like a governance vote and some other stuff coming up where they're gonna put like more of a bow on like those questions. But when they created the initial tokenomics for Sonic, it was very, it was very like, I think Sonic only got, oh geez, I don't know, it was like 3% or 6% or something, and then they actually bought a lot of their tokens on open market that the foundation has. So yeah, I mean, those are things though for sure that get asked often, and I don't have an answer on like what the cap is gonna like finally be right now, but they are working on that, and they're working on ways to like accelerate burning tokens and all that kind of stuff. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw that after one of the airdrops. The foundation burned a bunch of their main tokens. So I think it's really cool that they're buying back tokens off the market. They're burning, doing airdrops, interacting with the community. So that's extremely powerful in my opinion.
Yeah, they've from the very start, it was kind of like when they were even first proposing like, oh, here's what like tokens are, here's like what tokens are going to get minted and everything else. It was like very modest compared to normal chains and like what kind of supply they have control over. So they've always like been concerned about that and kept that in mind.
Legit. Nathan, you got any questions? Do you need a bounce, Nathan?
Yes, but I want to know, are those just props behind you, or do you actually play?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into like a little like part of how I got into crypto was like I had spent
music NFTs.
Well, no. About 15 years or so of my life, I was playing in bands and touring, and that was actually like kind of like what I did. That was like my main thing, and that's kind of what actually I did things that like I did things for work that you could do and like still kind of like do it on your own, like without like I edited video and film and like did design work and like things I could do on the road, and still like have extra income. So that was actually kind of like another thing that drew me into this trading and stuff, was like, oh, I can do this on my phone. I can do this on a laptop. I can do this anywhere, So yeah, no, it's funny you say that though, but yeah, those are a couple. Actually, there's 3 on this wall, but you can't see the last one. And then at my house, like in the basement, I got like a ton of gear, still like all my tour stuff, and not that it's doing anything, but
yeah,
I'm retired from the game at this point, but
the day that it was a sad day when I had to, because I traveled everywhere I moved. I always had my whole PA system, and I decided to sell it, and it was like an eBay thing. No, it was a Craigslist. I put it up on Craigslist, and some random guy came to
that was the place to sell gear, man. That was the place to do it.
Yeah, but man, he got a nice. I had a nice setup. I was like solo for so long, but yeah.
He's our lead singer. Every now and then he breaks into solos.
Solos? Yeah. Well, I'm like the upper octave guy,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
If you don't know, we took over this project called Dragon Fart Dust. Dragon Fart Dust. That's right. Yeah. And we farted to the moon. That's what we were doing. Now it's he ran out of gas right now.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
The dragon went down into the bowels of the earth, and he's building up his mythical gas to release.
Yeah, he's working on it.
But are you going to give us the verse?
And he's going to fart it to the moon like that.
There we go. Thank you.
And then my wife is upstairs shaking her. She's like, they're doing their freaking crypto thing.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
All right, I got one more question for you because I know you're a busy man. I don't want to keep you up all night, and I appreciate you taking time out to come on stream and talk to our audience. AI Spark. So
yeah. So this has also recently come out. So they've rebranded it from Spark to Spawn, due to some naming conflicts of another large project. But yeah, it'll now be called Spawn. But I have gotten to see little test things on it. Essentially, it's kind of reminiscent of something like I don't know if you're familiar with like Replit or Bolt or these things where it's like you basically talk to an AI and it helps you like vibe code to an extent. You know what I mean? So it's very cool because it's going to allow people to build dApps. But the model has also been trained to focus on things that, make sense for Sonic. So like it can also, create smart contracts for your back end. It, can make your stuff already compatible with VM. It can do all these things that are geared towards like crypto development, which, hasn't been done yet. Cause like I said, I've played with some of these tools and, there's usually just kind of like some of that magic missing in terms of like, okay, like it's hard to get smart contracts done. It's hard to, do like the kind of back end stuff you have to on a crypto project. So this, Spawn is like very cool because it's like just totally geared towards that kind of stuff. And, I think it's going to be a big thing for Sonic, because obviously they're going to promote, hey, come use this tool and, you make a project that's interesting, just go ahead and deploy it on Sonic, like you're here. So excited to see like what comes out of that. The guy that's been working on it, Seg, he has just been like totally heads down working on it for a while. So we're getting close on that too. And I haven't gotten to play with it yet, but yeah, I'm excited for that. It's like I said, I've seen a little bit of it in action, and I think people are going to be excited about it.
They better let you get first dibs.
Yeah, I should get first dibs for sure, So,
dude, I can tell you, I'm gonna launch so many meme coins off of that thing. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, meme coin, high emission farms, Ponzi's, just whatever, make it happen.
I have a question on that. That's it. That I think might be interesting. What are your thoughts on supply control in launching a token and maintaining ownership between you or a group of people of, say, how I'm like a 95% guy.
Well, I think that with meme tokens, we've kind of had the same thing where I don't know, like things have kind of changed since last run. Last run meme tokens would say, okay, and the team gets, it was more like the least amount of supply your team could get. It was like more bullish, right? But kind of like in the era we're in now, for a meme token to like really take off, it's like you need a lot of the supply. You need, like for instance, even if it's like, you need incentives, you need, you just need like, you need to be able to have access to tokens to keep it alive, kind of. So I kind of, I don't know. I guess the way I would look at it now is, let me just put it like this. Like, I don't really flinch if a project's like, oh, they have like 60% of the supply or something. I just don't really flinch at that anymore because a lot of big projects, especially like Solana projects, I mean, they have like an insane amount of token control, but it tends to, as long as you have responsible, trustworthy people controlling that supply, it usually works out good. So,
yeah.
Well, that's easy. So we can all find that. I mean, all right, that's awesome because I tell you, it's kind of funny. We've kind of migrated into that area where we have one of our team members launched a token where he and a core group of people control over 90% of it, and they control it. They don't market sell. Like they're all about providing liquidity on it, and so it's kind of an area we've adapted to, and I would say, at least in terms of meme coins, like you said, if you can find the right team that's doing the right thing with that supply, it can actually work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that like for instance, I know on Sonic, because there are so many V3 projects, a big staple in the V3 system is that you bribe your pool for the coming week, right? And that's how you earn emissions is, people vote on your pool because they want to get your bribe, and then you get emissions in exchange. So especially like on a chain like Sonic or Avalanche, where there's a lot of V3, if you don't have a lot of your supply, I mean, you're having to do this stuff like every week, so it can be really difficult. And I think I say this because like chains like Pulse, Avalanche, Sonic, you got to have a little more for people to do or for people to get like out of it, because sure, like there's people that have that argument like, oh, a pure meme doesn't have any utility, it doesn't have anything besides a community, but there's on most of these chains there's just really not like the kind of volume you have to just be like, oh, the token just exists and people have it and people talk about it, you know what I mean? So so especially like on Sonic, you have to, you definitely have to have a good amount of tokens to provide incentives long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point.
Good. I'll sign off there, Mo. This was
we
great.
can kind of wrap it up right here. Yeah, we're at 40 minutes here. We can wrap this up. I appreciate you very much for coming on. Can I get you to do one more thing? For newcomers,
yeah.
Who are maybe the people they should be looking into? Who are maybe some of the first things they should check out when they get to Sonic?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, people sometimes make comments that there's a lot of dexes on Sonic, and there is, but every single one of them kind of has a unique system. So I would recommend, first thing first, you want to find like the dex or multiple dexes that you like to work with. Like just, give an example. It's like Equalizer's like a V3. Swap X is like a V3, but like with some twists, they got things like concentrate, like they have concentrated liquidity, but they also have like automatic liquidity managers. They have like lots of cool community stuff. You have Shadow, which is like what they technically call X3. You have Metropolis, which is DLMM. You have Beethoven, which is a balancer fork. So literally the list goes on. You should probably see what kind of system works for how you handle your like tokens and your liquidity and stuff. And then after that, I would drill down into some of the lending protocols, because we have Silo and Aave on Sonic, which are both really large lending protocols. And liquid staking tokens are kind of like a big thing on Sonic. So there's a lot of opportunities to like, lend S or lend a liquid staking token and borrow and, loop and whatever. And, not be like exposed to a lot of IL. There's a lot of opportunities like that. So, so I would look at the dexes. I would look at the lending. After that, start looking into the memes. There's a lot of good memes on Sonic, a lot of good communities. So yeah, I'd go dex, lending, memes. If you're into NFTs, the NFT community right now is not as big as it was on Phantom, but there's a handful of really good, not a handful. I mean, there's a lot of like already like really good creators, and some big communities there. So, that's kind of the order I would go in, because not everybody's into NFT and memes. So I would say dex, lending, then, you get your bearings and, start finding some memes you like too.
Perfect. Awesome. Guys, anything you want to ask before we close out?
Just want to say, man, awesome live stream. Thanks for coming on, dude. And I actually really enjoyed this, and the educational part's huge. And I'm gonna watch this back. So, and you should definitely come on in the future. You got some time, man. So
yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely come on. It was awesome hanging with you guys, and I yap a lot. So I mean,
don't speak too soon. I mean, you haven't.
Yeah, I'll definitely come back.
Another stream when we have like the 7-person panel, and man, it gets pretty rowdy. But yeah, I feel like you would you'd be into that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna grow my start a little longer. We have a good progression here. because it's like, here's my
Yeah, it is
my
kind of like,
language, and it goes to and then you got Warren Zevon there.
yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I appreciate it, guys. And yeah, anytime, just reach out. If you were looking for a Sonic update or just wanting to chat and hang. But yeah, great show, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for showing up. Do me a favor, share this out, follow everyone, and have yourselves a good weekend. We will get back at it on Monday. Shout out to TFC and Alamo. We will talk to you guys on Monday.
Yeah.
Have a great week, guys.
All I wanna do is zoom, 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 zoom.